I, a 36-year-old man, have known my wife, a 37-year-old woman, for half my life. We reconnected 10 years ago and started dating a little less than 7 years ago. We have been married for 4 years. I bought our current house 10 years ago before we started dating and refinanced when rates were below 3%. We were together then and decided to just have me on the loan. I'm a government employee making roughly $120,000 a year, and she works in education making roughly $40,000. Quick rundown on our finances. We joined our finances when we got married. I have roughly $4,000 in credit card debt. She has around $10,000 in credit card and auto loan debt. Plus, she brought $50,000 in student loans, currently sitting around $25,000. We came up with a budget and plan to tackle these debts, while also investing in retirement plans from our jobs. A year ago, her grandfather passed away, and she received around $150,000. She sat down and asked what we should do with the money. With our salaries, we can easily pay more than minimums on our debts, set aside for retirement, and save for vacation funds. I told her it was her money to use as she wanted. She decided to pay off the mortgage that was in my name. She met with a tax specialist and figured out the numbers. Honestly, this made me cry because it was genuinely one of the kindest things anyone has ever done for me. Fast forward to last Friday. We both get home around the same time and start doing our normal routine after work. We chat about how work went and relax for a bit. She cooked dinner and I cleaned up afterward. I loaded the dishwasher and sat down to play Final Fantasy VII Remake. I'm not a huge gamer by any means. My wife heard me mention that I wanted that game and its sequel that just came out, so she surprised me with them. I told her I'd be playing for roughly an hour, which is how long I usually play before my eyes hurt. She sat down and cracked open a book like usual. It's something we do most days. Roughly an hour later, she gets up and says it's my turn to take out the trash. I replied, "Okay, give me 5 minutes because I'm fighting this boss. I paid off this freaking mortgage, and you can't get off your butt to do this for me?" I'm shocked at this point because she is never like this. We communicated early on in our relationship when she moved into our house that if she wanted me to do something, to ask, and I would do it. If I was already busy doing something, I would give her an honest timeline on when I could do it. That if she needed it done immediately, then to let me know, and I would stop what I was doing and do it. This has worked wonderfully until then. I pause the game, take the trash outside, and just try to get my anger under control. She has never yelled at me before, but honestly, it's the holding this over my head that hurts my heart. I didn't ask her to do it, and our salary was more than enough to allow her to keep the money saved for herself. Eventually, I go back inside and told her I don't like her holding that over my head, and that I never asked her to do that for me. She replied that I was ungrateful and gave me the silent treatment. The next morning, she apologized to me in tears and said stress from work got to her. I believe she is telling the truth because some of her students are in hurtful homes, and Child Services hasn't done anything to protect those kids. This whole issue is wildly out of character for her. My question is, how do I handle this? I'm not leaving her because this is the first and only time she has acted this way. She did say it though, and it still hurts. So how do I move on from this? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Clearly there are two things happening here. You'll need to find out what happened that day to cause her to act out in such a manner. She likely had a seriously bad day and acted out of an excess of anger that could not be controlled at that moment. So she lost control of herself and said something very hurtful. Whether she realizes it or not, she clearly has resentment issues about paying off the mortgage. You said she wasn't on the original mortgage paperwork, which means she likely wasn't listed on the deed. I have to ask, did you put her on the deed after she paid it off? Or is the house still in your name? Comment 2. I think you need to add her to the title. She may be regretting it because she technically has no ownership in it, and that would be the appropriate course of action since I'm guessing she has as much into the house by now as you do. Then you guys can discuss reallocating the funds that went toward the mortgage to other things. But more fundamentally, I'd ask her if she does regret it and then offer to take a loan back out and reimburse her, because she isn't allowed to hold this over your head. and if she thinks she might again, it's not worth it. Now, for the update. Thanks for all the comments on my last post. So, things have taken a turn since then. The day after my wife apologized, I thought we were back on track. But then, my buddy Mark, who's been my friend since high school, came over. He's always been a bit of a hothead, but we've been through a lot together. Mark's been struggling with his own stuff, like his divorce and losing his job. I guess he's been feeling pretty down. Anyway, he came over to hang out, and I could tell something was off. He was quieter than usual, and when my wife came in to say hi, he barely acknowledged her. I thought maybe he was just having a bad day. But then he snapped at her over something stupid. She'd asked if he wanted a drink, and he just lost it, saying he wasn't a charity case. It was so out of line, and I could see it hurt her feeling. I tried to smooth things over, but the damage was done. My wife excused herself and went to our room. I confronted Mark about his behavior, and he just shrugged it off, saying he's tired of everyone walking on eggshells around him. I told him that's no excuse to take it out on my wife, but he just got more defensive. The next day, I found out that Mark had been spreading rumors about my wife at the local bar. He was saying she was controlling, and that she'd made me cut off contact with my friends since she paid off the mortgage. That's not true at all, and I was furious. I went to confront him, and we ended up in a huge argument. I told him he was out of line and that he needed to apologize to my wife. He refused, saying he was just telling it like it is. I couldn't believe it. This was a guy I'd known for over 20 years, and here he was trying to sabotage my marriage. I told him he needed to sort himself out, or we couldn't be friends anymore. He just laughed and said I was whipped. I left, feeling like I didn't even know him anymore. Back at home, my wife and I had a long talk. She was shaken by Mark's behavior and the rumors. We decided to focus on us and not let his negativity affect our relationship. We also agreed that we needed to set some boundaries with friends who couldn't respect our marriage. But then, 2 days later, I got a call from my bank. There had been several large, unauthorized transactions on our joint account. My heart sank. I checked our account and saw that thousands of dollars were missing. I showed my wife, and we were both in shock. We called the bank to report the fraud, and they started an investigation. The bank's security team found that the transactions were made using my wife's card details. We couldn't understand how this had happened. We were always so careful with our finances. The bank said they'd refund the money, but it would take time to process. That evening, my wife's phone rang. It was Mark. I could hear him yelling through the phone, accusing her of getting him fired from his new job. He said he knew it was her because she was the only one who had a grudge against him. My wife was in tears, denying it, but he just kept shouting. I took the phone from her and told Mark he was out of his mind. I said we had nothing to do with his job, and we were dealing with our own problems because someone had stolen from us. There was a pause, and then Mark's tone changed. He said he knew who took our money. It was his ex-wife. She'd overheard him talking about my wife paying off the mortgage and got jealous. She wanted to get back at him by hurting us. I was stunned. Mark's ex had done this out of spite, and Mark had blamed us for his own problems. I told him he needed to fix this or I'd go to the police. He promised he would. The next day, Mark came over with a cashier's check for the full amount that was stolen. He apologized to both of us, saying he'd convinced his ex to return the money. He also apologized for the rumors and the way he'd treated my wife. It was a lot to take in, but I could see he was sincere. We accepted his apology, but things are different now. We're more cautious about who we let into our lives. My wife and I are working on rebuilding our trust, not just in each other, but in those around us. It's been a rough few days, but we're getting through it together. Thanks for reading. My fiancé kicks me out for choosing my job over caring for her grandmother. So I turn the tables and make her beg for my forgiveness. My fiancé and I have been together for 5 years and engaged for 6 months. She stays alone with her grandmother, but because her grandmother has been quite sick lately, I've been staying in the spare room for quite some time. My fiancé struggles with insomnia, so usually she sleeps late, from 2 to 4 a.m. Right now, she takes care of her gran, which is a 24/7 job, so she can't really work. I work from home and start around 9 a.m. We always have this problem where when I want to go to sleep, she will fight me. She will ignore me or just say bye when I say I think I need to go to sleep. If I try to hug her goodnight, then she will physically push me away. When I say I love you, she always responds with, sure you do. I don't like it as I need to get enough sleep to be okay for work. I am usually exhausted when I'm staying here, as even when I am working, I need to take time away to help with the gran or run errands. I just ask that I can get enough sleep and go to bed around 12. I usually sit with her, and when she goes to bed, I sit on her bed and chill with her too. Sometimes even if I go to sleep at 1 or 2 and she's still up, she will act the same. A couple of nights ago, I asked her why she does this, as I don't like ending the night with problems. She said that she gets sad that I'm going to leave her. I said I understand, but I feel like she doesn't respect that I need to sleep to wake up for work. She then got upset and said she always lets me go to sleep, and she's not stopping me, so I must just leave her alone and go. I said, it's not letting me go. If you say you're letting me go and not stopping me, but you punish me and fight me, then that's not letting, it's manipulation. After I said this, it really triggered her, and she got quite upset. I think some of her family members have said she's manipulative, but they say it out of malice and not with any real reason. I wasn't calling her manipulative, but trying to express how I feel when she does that. She does not want to be with me anymore. She says we are over, I apologized all night, and stayed up with her till 3 while she was sleeping. When I went to bed, I sent a message again apologizing and explaining, and she responded today said, we are over. I genuinely feel like punishing someone for doing something they don't want to is manipulation. I understand that I should have used a different word or something, as the word has some weight to it because of family problems. But I wasn't thinking about that in the moment. I feel bad for hurting her like this, and I don't know how to fix it. I really love her, and I am looking forward to getting married and living together. How do I approach this situation? I don't know if she'll hear me out now. How do I mend things? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. I'm guessing that this end of the relationship may be another manipulative play against you, OP. She has you groveling and taking responsibility for everything without doing anything. You are reacting to emotionally hurtful behavior by your fiancé. She does this to you all the time and thinks it is okay to mistreat you like this because she is pouty and has to stay up a few more hours by herself. That is like 10-year-old rationalization for having a tantrum and pouting. She is manipulative, and she is still manipulating you, I suspect. Why on earth do you want to have this in your life indefinitely? Look in the mirror and tell yourself why you need this in your life, beyond familiar routines and being afraid of being alone. This is not the only relationship you can have, and it sure isn't a healthy one, by the sounds of it. Comment 2. She doesn't respect you enough to care for you if she can reply to you saying, I love you with, sure you do. Then it already tells you everything. She doesn't let you get rest, wants you to be as miserable as her. Where do you see love her? To me, it all seems like manipulation, and she does it probably subconsciously and doesn't even realize that she is playing on your emotions constantly. The best thing you can do is just tell her okay, and leave her and watch her going crazy about you not chasing her and not expressing the deepest regrets and trying to attend to her every need. And maybe there is a chance that she will understand that you are also a human being with your own needs and try to change. But living with someone like this is a very hard, emotionally draining job. Now for the update. Thanks for sticking around for this update. So, things have been rough since my fiancé said we were over. I thought she'd cool off after a day or two, but she's been ice cold. She's been avoiding me, only talking when it's about her gran's needs. It's like I'm not even there. I've been trying to give her space, but it's tough when we're all living under the same roof. Her gran's health took a turn for the worse last week. It was all hands on deck, and I was running around picking up meds, cooking, and doing whatever I could to help out. My work suffered, and my boss wasn't happy. I got a warning, which was the last thing I needed. Then, 2 days ago, my fiancé's uncle showed up. He's the type who thinks he knows everything about everything. He started questioning how I was handling things, saying I wasn't doing enough. That stung because I've been bending over backward for them. Yesterday, the tension hit a peak. Her uncle accused me of not caring about her gran because I was always locked away working or sleeping. My fiance didn't defend me. It felt like a slap in the face. I lost it and told him he had no idea what he was talking about. That's when my fiance finally spoke up, but not in my favor. She sided with her uncle, saying, maybe if I was more present, her gran wouldn't be so stressed. I was hurt and angry. I needed to clear my head, so I went for a walk. When I got back, her uncle had convinced her to make a decision. She told me I had to choose between my job and helping out more with her gran. I was shocked. I need my job to pay the bills, and I was already doing so much. I tried to reason with her, but she wouldn't budge. It was like she was a different person. I couldn't believe she was asking me to give up my livelihood. I told her I couldn't make that choice. It was unfair and impossible, she said. If that was my decision, then I should pack my things and leave. I couldn't believe it. I was being kicked out for not quitting my job. I spent the night on a friend's couch, feeling like my world had fallen apart. Today, I went back to collect my stuff. The house was quiet. Her gran was sleeping, and my fiancé was sitting at the kitchen table looking exhausted. I wanted to reach out, to fix things, but the look on her face stopped me. It was clear she had made up her mind. I packed my things in silence, each item feeling heavier than the last. When I was done, I looked around the room where we had shared so many memories. It was hard to walk away, but I had no choice. I'm staying with my friend for now, trying to figure out my next move. Work is still a mess, and my heart is in pieces. I never thought it would end like this. I just hope her gran gets better and that my fiancé finds some peace. Thanks for reading. My friend's sister flirts with my husband at her wedding and spreads lies about my marriage. So I expose her gold-digging secrets and watch as her world crumbles. I, 31 years old female, am close friends with Lisa, 33 years old female. We met at college, became roommates, and I love her to death. Lisa has a sister named Amy who is in her 20s. I've met Amy occasionally in college, but we never really hung out because she was young at that time. In February, Lisa had a bridal shower. Since I couldn't be there in person to help with the planning, I financially contributed to most of it. I gave money to Amy to pay for everything: the decor, food, and alcohol. I even paid for an overnight stay at a hotel for all 7 girls. I did all of this because I couldn't make it to her bachelorette party the week before. I had also paid for the limo Amy wanted to host the party in. At the shower, I saw Amy, and she was gushing about how I had spent a lot of money on Lisa. I just said if it's for Lisa, I would have paid for anything. Amy was hinting at my job, suggesting that it was paying me a lot of money to spend on Lisa. I'm a new surgeon who just graduated from residency. I got a pay bump, but not a lot. I'm lucky because my husband is supporting me while I go through fellowship. My husband, 40 years old male, is also a doctor, but he's much more advanced in his career than me. For my wedding gift, he paid off the remainder of my student loans. He is amazing, and I am obsessed with him. The wedding happened in March, and my husband and I attended it. After the wedding, family and close friends were invited to Lisa's parents' place for dinner. During the wedding, Amy was very handsy with my husband. She was asking him about his job, praising how smart he was to be working in the ICU, complimenting how attractive he was, and mentioning how he looks like a young Alain Delon, and so on. My husband was giving me signals to come to him, and I did. This happened at least 2 more times. At Lisa's parents' place, Amy was wrapping her arm around my husband's back and serving him drinks and food. I told Lisa's mom about how Amy was making me and my husband very uncomfortable. Her mom pulled her aside and told her off, as it seemed, because she came out grumpy. Amy was still acting like a crazed teenager because when we wanted to leave, she wouldn't give my husband his jacket back and kept sniffing it. I had a feeling that she was drunk and completely out of it. My husband raised his voice and told her to stop messing around and give it to him. I yelled, "Can you stop being so difficult? You've been shamelessly flirting with my husband in front of me the whole day. Give me the damn jacket and leave us alone." I got a text from Lisa's mom demanding that I publicly apologize to Amy. She wanted me to post on social media a heartfelt apology because some of the guests heard me yell at her and thought I was overreacting and humiliated her. Lisa is on my side and told me Amy has always had gold-digging tendencies. She also mentioned that this isn't the first time Amy has done something like this. She flirted with her friend's dad and their next-door neighbor who is married when she thought that they were wealthy. Lisa said she would handle it. I already felt so bad that I ruined the last moments of her wedding day, and now she has to deal with this. I'm ruminating on this a lot lately and wondering if I should apologize to Amy. I don't want to, but then again, if I did, I would explain exactly what happened and how it merited my reaction to her. Though this might add fuel to the fire. There is so much drama right now, and I want to preserve my friendship with Lisa. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Do not apologize. Tell the mom your husband is the one that deserves the apology from Amy for stepping over boundaries and harassing your husband all night. This wasn't just flirting. This was downright intimacy harassment of your husband. He said, "No? How many times?" If her daughter hadn't been sexually harassing him even after they and you talked to her, you wouldn't have had to call her out. From the sounds of it, Lisa understands why it happened. Amy should apologize to her as well. Comment 2. It sounds like Lisa is extremely understanding. I think you let Lisa know, if you haven't already, about how bad you feel about ruining the last moments of her wedding, though I doubt you did, and offer an apology to her. Then state something along the lines of, "Other than you and your husband," though I'm not apologizing to anyone else. I think you're right in that if you explain publicly how it really went down, it's not going to do anything but cause more problems. Now, for the update, thanks for sticking around to hear this mess. So, after the whole wedding fiasco, things went from bad to worse. Lisa's mom was adamant about that public apology, but I wasn't about to give in to such nonsense. I mean, Amy was the one out of line, not me. But then, out of nowhere, my husband tells me he thinks I should just apologize to keep the peace. Can you believe that? After all the inappropriate stuff Amy pulled, he wants me to say sorry. It felt like a slap in the face, honestly. But here's where it gets really twisted. I found out that my husband had been messaging Amy behind my back. They were talking about clearing the air and misunderstandings. I couldn't believe it. The man I trusted more than anyone was going behind my back to chat with the same woman who had been all over him. It felt like betrayal on another level. I confronted him, and he said it was all innocent, that he was just trying to smooth things over for my sake. But it didn't sit right with me. I felt like I was living in some cheap TV drama where the loyal wife gets backstabbed by her husband and the flirty sister-in-law. And then, as if things couldn't get any more complicated, Lisa calls me up crying. Turns out Amy had been spreading rumors about me and my husband, saying that our marriage was on the rocks, and that's why I was so defensive at the wedding. Lisa was furious with Amy and apologized for not believing me sooner. But wait, there's more. Remember how I mentioned Amy had gold-digging tendencies? Well, she hit the jackpot, or so she thought. She managed to charm some rich guy into dating her. The guy was actually a friend of my husband's, and he had no idea about Amy's reputation. When my husband found out, he felt guilty for not warning his friend sooner. So my husband decided to come clean to his friend about Amy's past. The friend was shocked and confronted Amy. She denied everything, of course, but the damage was done. The relationship crumbled, and Amy was left with nothing but her lies. In the end, my husband and I had a long, hard talk about trust and boundaries. He apologized for messaging Amy and realized how it must have looked from my perspective. We agreed to be more open with each other and to never let anyone come between us again. As for Amy, she got a taste of her own medicine. Her reputation caught up with her, and now she's the one left trying to clear her name. Lisa and I are closer than ever, and she's been a real rock through all of this. We've both learned a lot about who we can trust and who we need to keep at arm's length. Thanks for reading this update. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.